What is up, ladies and gentlemen? But most of all, you ladies out there, thanks for clicking on another episode of Break the Silence. I am your host, Cyborg. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Boston Celtics, and the Milwaukie Bucks. Let's talk about it. Split out! We just had an incredible night of NBA basketball. We got to watch the four best teams in the Eastern Conference up to this point play head-to-head, and then we got to watch Shai Gilgeous-Alexander put on another masterpiece, which he's been doing time and time again this season. And we're going to take some time to talk about him, talk about the Cavs Bucks, talk about the Celtics Hawks, because those games were interesting and a lot to talk about when it comes to those teams. But first, please take a second to like and subscribe to the channel. We're headed for 600 subscribers. We passed the 500 mark. We've been grinding videos. I think this is 6 straight days. So if you would hit that little subscribe button, help me out a ton. I would appreciate it. But let's get to the basketball we got to watch tonight, because it was a very, very entertaining night of basketball. First, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander playing like a top 10 player in the NBA so far. He is third in the NBA in scoring. Tonight gave you 42 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, including the game-winning three-pointer against the Washington Wizards. The Thunder are 7-8, all on the backs of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He, for the season, is third in the NBA in scoring. After tonight's game, he'll be right around 32 points a game. It hasn't calculated yet, but he's averaging 6 assists a game and playing incredible basketball. The thing about Shai, and I broke him down before the season started because I was a big fan of his game. We just didn't get to see it because he's kind of buried away in Oklahoma City. But he's able to score from anywhere on the court. And this year in particular, he's really, really improved his three ball. Last year from the three-point line only shot about 30%. This year he's shooting 38% from the three-point line. If he's going to shoot in the mid to high 30s from the three-point line, he is very capable of averaging almost 30 points a game. That was the difference we wanted to see. But the thing you notice with him is his creativity and finishing. That's what makes some players in the NBA so hard to guard, because you have no idea what they're going to do because they have so many moves in their bag. A guy like Luka Doncic, he doesn't have the physical skill sets as far as speed or athleticism, but he has so many moves and keeps you so off balance, you just don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to step back? Is he going to take me to the basket? Is he going to turn and fade, post me up? That's the same thing we see with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, is that from the mid-range, he's electric. Driving to the basket, he's electric. And he's finally added that three ball that we wanted to see from Shai. And he's playing unbelievable. I'm telling you, I cannot wait to watch this team when Chet comes back. I think it'll be one of the most must-watch teams in the NBA, especially if they can add one more piece this offseason with all their capital. But let's move on to a couple of the basketball games tonight. Couple interesting games between what I believe to be the 4 top teams in the Eastern Conference. You have the Boston Celtics, Milwaukie Bucks, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Atlanta Hawks. Thus far in the season, all 4 teams have played really well, and all 4 teams have some question marks. Now, the Bucks is mainly, when will Chris Middleton come back, and will Giannis be able to carry that load up till then? Did they improve enough in the offseason to compete? Health is a big concern with every team in the NBA, obviously. Cavs have been going through some injuries. The Celtics have had some injuries, and a lot of teams in the Western Conference, and the East. But we're going to break down these games real quick. So let's start with the Cleveland Cavaliers and Milwaukie Bucks. I want to start with talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers because they are on a real skid. They've now lost, I believe, 4 games in a row. I think it's 4 games in a row. And they lost tonight to the Milwaukee Bucks. Actually, that might make it 5. Let me see. Yeah, they've lost 5 in a row. So the Cleveland Cavaliers have lost 5 games in a row to the Clippers, Kings, Warriors, Timberwolves, and now the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, when I watched this team, after 5 games, they were playing unbelievable basketball. I got on this podcast and I said I have real concern about the Cleveland Cavaliers' perimeter defense. And at that point, they were playing so good, you tend to ignore some of their flaws. But this is a real thing. I'm telling you, when you watch the Cavs, watch how many open threes they give up. Tonight, the Milwaukee Bucks shot 41% from the three-point line, hit 16 three-pointers. And for the season, the Cavs are 22nd in opponents' three-point percentage, meaning they're giving up about as their opponents are shooting about as good from three as anyone in the entire NBA. Their opponents are shooting 37.3% from three. They're 16th in total defense. So in the paint, inside with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, they're legitimate rim protectors, but that comes with a price. And that's their perimeter defense. When you're talking about Mitchell and Garland not being very good perimeter defenders, and then you bring in C.D. Osman and Kevin Love, who are also not terrific three-point defenders, you're talking about a lack of perimeter defense that I do see to be a problem with this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Now, they're still electric. They're still a really, really good basketball team, and they're going to get Ricky Rubio back at some point in this season. That'll bring a real spark off their bench, because they're really struggling with some consistent bench production if Kevin Love doesn't play incredible, because C.D. Osman is up and down. Isaac Okoro, we got to stop playing this man. They showed his statistics before this game. He's averaging 1.7 points a game on 8% from three. 8% from three is so incredibly bad. And he's almost to the point where he's almost unplayable. And I know he's supposed to be a good defender. You just picked him in the first round a couple years ago. You really want him to develop. It's not working. You got to figure that out. You got to get some bench depth. Now, Mitchell didn't have his best game tonight with 7 of 19, 23 points. Garland started this game red hot, finished with 23 points, 8 assists. Evan Mobley had 20 points and 7 rebounds. Now, a lot of you out there know how high I am on Evan Mobley and how much of a stud I think he is. Obviously, missing Jared Allen is significant, and we're not going to act like it's not. But when we flip to this other side, the Milwaukee Bucks are missing Chris Middleton. Now, they're a team that boast who I believe to be the best player in the NBA, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the second best player in the league, Brook Lopez, who had 20. I'm kidding about second best player. But tonight, Brook Lopez gave you 29 points and 5 rebounds. If Brook Lopez is going to hit 7 threes, you might just have to chalk that up to an L. But that's what I'm talking about, the legitimate concern about the perimeter defense. If a big man's able to shoot, that means that one of the Cavs' big men are going to have to go guard on the perimeter. That's a little tough to do. Giannis had probably the worst offensive game you're going to see him have. He had 16 points on 6 of 18 shooting. He just looked a little off tonight. He's coming off that injury. It's his, I think, second game back. Nwora, I think is it Joseph Nwora, however you say his last name, gave you 21 tonight. And the Bucks are just an incredible basketball team. They're now 11-3, and I believe that the Bucks are the best team in the NBA. Now, the Celtics and the Bucks are right there at the moment. Those are the two teams that are competing for it. If I had to put my money down in a series, I'm putting it on the best player. And that's where Giannis Antetokounmpo becomes so valuable. We'll see when Chris Middleton comes back. He's been out for a very long time. Right now, the Celtics are a half game up on the Bucks in the standings. So we'll see what happens there. But let's move to the final game of the night between the Boston Celtics and the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Boston Celtics were without Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, and obviously Robert Williams will come back later in the season. So they're missing significant depth on their side of the basketball, and we're able to go into Atlanta and win by 25. When the Celtics play like this on the offensive and defensive end of the court, they're almost unbeatable. But I want to start with the Hawks a little bit. Trae Young, and many of you might not have noticed this out there, is really struggling from the three-point line. Trae Young is not an elite three-point shooter. A lot of people kind of get enamored by his deep three range, and he's a really good deep shooter. But as far as straight-up threes, for his career, he only shoots 35%. That's not great three-point shooter, where you've heard a lot of people compare him to Steph Curry. He's not Steph Curry. So you got to get that out of your mind. And I'm not hating on Trae Young. He's a great basketball player. Is so creative with his finisher. Is a great passer. But he's just not a great three-point shooter. For this season so far, he's shooting 31% from the three-point line. This is a real concern. If he is going to be so inefficient, then the Hawks offense is really going to struggle. So they need Trae Young to step up a notch when it comes to efficiently scoring the basketball, because his overall field goal percentage is 38%. That is inefficiency at its finest. That's something that just has to be better. If the Hawks want to compete as one of those top teams in the Eastern Conference, it will require Trae Young to be better. Now, DeJounte Murray, I really like that addition they had in the offseason. He had a pretty rough night, but for the season averaging 21 points and 8 assists. He also is not a great three-point shooter. So you're talking about a team that their two stars struggle from the three-point line. So he's a little more efficient from the field. We'll move on to the Boston Celtics here for a second, because I think that's the real story here, is how much depth the Boston Celtics have to be able to be missing 3 players, 3 real rotation players, 2 of them starters, and Brogdon, your 6th man, and still be able to go into Atlanta and dominate, just shows the crazy depth of this team. That is now 7 wins in a row for the Boston Celtics. And Tatum played terrible tonight. Jason Tatum was 6 of 19, could not get his 3-ball going, was missing layups, was dropping the basketball. He really struggled tonight. But it didn't matter because they got so much production from other spots. They now have Sam Hauser, which, if you're not familiar, an absolute sniper from the three-point range, which I think the Celtics have been missing for years. I always am someone who have valued Seth Curry types or Kyle Korver, someone who can come in and just snipe. Just snipe. When they're open from 3, they're going to knock it down. Sam Hauser tonight hit 5 3-pointers. Peyton Pritchard tonight hit 4 3-pointers. And as a team, the Celtics shot 46% from the three-point line, hitting 21 threes. Now, obviously, you're not going to shoot quite that good every night, but that's an elite shooting night. The Celtics always turn the ball over at a decent clip, and Jaylen Brown was in foul trouble most of this game, but he still wound up with 22 points and 5 rebounds. Now, Derek White, I think, was probably the best player on the Celtics tonight from what I saw. He had 16 points and 10 assists. Felt like every time the Hawks tried to make a little run, Derek White closed it out. And this team just has so much depth, and it's a very enjoyable brand of basketball to watch. If you haven't noticed, right now, the Celtics have the #1 offensive rating in the league, and the distance between them and second place is the same distance from second to 11th place. So the Boston Celtics offense is playing at a level that we've never seen in the NBA before. Quite literally, the #1 offensive rating of all time. Now, will they keep that up? That's the question mark. But the big thing we wanted to see with the Celtics, can their defense start to improve? Because they were struggling defensively. They were a middle-of-the-pack defensive team. And last year, that's what they were so great at. So tonight, they played much better defense on the Atlanta Hawks, made it tough on them, and they're on a solid winning streak. They're back #1 in the Eastern Conference, the best record in the NBA. So right where the Celtics want to be, especially once they start to get their guys back. So a lot of injury concerns in the NBA. Chris Middleton, Celtics guys. Garland and Mitchell have missed many games. Obviously, James Harden for the Sixers. Kyrie Irving suspended. That's a whole nother mess. There's a lot going on in the Eastern Conference, but that's all we got for you tonight. Shai's incredible. The Bucks and Celtics are both really good, and that's all we got. Take a second to hit that subscribe button. Appreciate y'all watching. Cyborg out.